Alex Lafkus here. I was recently asked to do a quick video on tying Black Ghost, which is, it's a marabou Black Ghost, old school traditional pattern. Nothing really cutting edge, but very, very effective, especially in low clear water. Starting with a Daiichi 2220 number 4. Obviously you can tie them as small as you want, or as big. 4 seems to be the size I go to a lot. First thing I'm going to do is I just grab a chunk of, yellow schlappen, and I'm going to use some of the fluff on the bottom end of it so that, just for the tail. Now, the one thing about this fly that, I don't know, it just seems to help everything, is I'm going to actually tie this tail in a little further up the hook shank than you would think. So I'm not going all the way back to the bend of the hook. I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is, so when I tie the marabou tail in, it can basically be the length of, this yellow tail as well, and still not foul on the hook shank. And it's just a hint of color back there. Nothing's too important. And I don't spend a lot of time tying these. I try to just bust them out because I know I'm going to go through them. I don't really care. Next thing I'm going to use is just some, holographic flash. You can use anything. Something I would recommend, something flat, whether it's pearl, silver, whatever. I just happen to have a spool of this I may never go through. I'm going to tie some of that in. And I'm also going to take some brassie sized wire. So this just happens to be some white because I know I'll never use it unless I use it here. So we're going to, just go ahead and tie some of that in as well. It doesn't really matter. It is just to reinforce the body. That's about the only thing that you're going to have issues with this, is that the body will blow up, because it will get bit. So, but real basic pattern. Not much to it. The biggest thing when tying these, the only thing that can really go wrong, is that you tie the marabou tail in and it's too long and it wraps around the hook, and then that just gets annoying. I am a little, whatever. I'm a little cautious about it because I will force cast this into very small areas and stuff. So like the faster and more you rush your back cast, the more you have a tendency for things to foul. And like if I'm trying to hit little spots, sometimes I get a little jumpy on it, but whatever. And I'm just giving myself enough room to finish off the rear hook, or to finish off with the marabou. And we'll just take our white wire, and like I said, the wire color doesn't matter. I happen to have a spool of this white brassie stuff, that brassie sized white wire that I must have bought to tie midges a million years ago, and I'll never use it all. So here we go. Once again, I'm using that Veevus 6/0 thread too. I really like the Veevus stuff. Now, the first time, I would say the first time, my first experience with Black Ghost was, it's with the client that I've actually been fishing with for over 20 some years. And we were fishing Mayo, and it was right when, it was my first year guiding. It was 2000. And it's a client I've actually fished with for on and off basically 25 years, 24. And we went down to Mayo, and it was hilarious because, the modern streamer stuff had come out, and we were, just kind of dinking around. But we went and we fished, that tailwater below Mayo Dam on the Asable. And we threw that ghost on, and I mean, this was, you know, before I jumped to 8 weights, big flies, all that stuff. And we're running 6 weights. And we put the little marabou black ghost on and started whipping it around. I think we ended up getting like a 19 and a 20 that day, which, you know, when I was just a kid doing this stuff, and, you know, I'd spent my whole life basically fishing the upper Asable until I got a drift boat in 2000. It was humorous to me. I was like, oh, yeah, that stupid little minnow. Now I have a really hard time even casting a fly this small down there, but that's because I'm hard-headed, because it did work, and it does work. So you can see now I can, with that tail being short off the back end, I can tie that marabou in, same length of that, and that's going to be short enough it's not going to wrap that hook much. Or at all, hopefully. But that is really the only thing you have to watch when tying these. That's why I do use these longer shank hooks, is because it gives me enough length to make that tail and not foul much. Like, see how that's just at the tail? That should be good. Oh, that's not gonna wrap. But that's really the only thing you got to watch with these, is just making sure that marabou won't wrap. The old traditional pattern was always tied with it was tied with feather wings, black floss, and I believe silver thread. But it was a feather wing pattern. I kind of like the marabou. Next step on this is I'm going to take the hackle tips off of a schlappen feather, you know, so I'm just using that same feather that I started with by pulling the fluff off. I just kind of grab a chunk of this stuff here. You know, I pinch it down so kind of all the tips are even, so that when I do pull it off, they all kind of come off in at about the right length for what I'm doing. I don't know. It just seems to be the easiest way for me. And it's just a hint of yellow. I'm not sure how much it matters, but I consistently do it, so whatever. Maybe it's just my homage to the old traditional. And once again, I'm not using flash other than that little bit that's on the body. That's just, I guess that's more my style. I guess if I were to say I have a fly tying style, it would be very little flash and hardly ever any eyes. Which some people think is stupid, but I've never seen it matter, so I'm not that worried about it. But I'm going to do a bunch of hand whip finishes. And the other thing, like, the body will blow up or your head will blow up. So by doing a bunch of whip finishes and giving it your Sally Hansen's, that will typically make that thing last a while. And I fished a bunch of different stuff throughout the summers, and it really seems to work best is this small minnow stuff. So I mean, that is my harvesting fly. If I'll try other stuff, and I'll try bigger. I do like running bigger baits, but I mean, if you just need bites and want volume of fish, it's really hard to pass this up. I think it'd actually be pretty funny to take it out west and see what you could do with it too. I usually like to fish these on a short sink tip, or in the last videos I've done, I'm tending to run a 150 Rio DC 24-foot sink tip, and I like it. That doesn't have as aggressive of a sink rate as a lot of them, but it's just enough to keep this down. I do taper down a leader. Like, I'll keep it short because I want that sink tip to work for me in a little river, but I'll just run a foot of 25 pound, a foot of 20 pound, a foot of 15 or 18 pound, and then go to my maybe 10 pound fluorocarbon off that. So it's really only a 3 or 4 foot. It's really only a 3 or 4 foot leader, but it does help it kind of get down and stay down. And I've tied these in all the other colors in the world, but I really have a tendency to stick with white and yellow. Those are the two colors I've done best on. So I tie them in white, I tie them in yellow, and those are the two I fish the most. I carry some olives and some black and whatever, and these are the colors I usually go to. So there it is. Super simple. I mean, it's a great pattern if you're just starting out, and you'll be able to catch fish on this in no time. So, anything else that jumps out at you that I talk about that you want to see tied, just let me know and we can get it done for you. So there you go. Black Ghost, Marabou Black Ghost. Thanks.